What's the point in playing guitar if you cannot move your fingers where you want them to be and in time? It's so frustrating to see something in a video, it's all clear in your head, you know exactly what to do, but then your fingers mess it up. They just don't go where you want them to, let alone in time. They even feel like they're not even yours. Now you have two choices. Either you keep playing simple songs, playing the cowboy chords up and down, but your fingers are not gonna get much better from them. Or you tackle the problem, you gain full control over your fingers so that you can enjoy the guitar more. Now if you choose the songs, then farewell, I'll see you around. And if not, then come with me. What awaits you here are not the typical spider exercises, because between us, they sound horrible. No, I put together 15 tiny pieces of music that will train your fingers in these 5 categories. Finger independence, finger strength, finger stretching, finger coordination, pressure control. Let's start with something light. I call this one here the triangle. Please be mindful while doing these exercises. If you feel any pain or discomfort, stop immediately and give your hands time to rest. Don't overdo it, listen to your body, and progress at a comfortable pace to avoid injury. Stay safe and enjoy your practice. I call this one here the triangle simply because the shape that I hold looks like a triangle pointing this way. Do you see that? And what I do here, what it trains is actually finger independence, because I keep index and ring finger anchored down on the G and B string, frets 2 and 3. And then the middle finger I move around. And I do the same here on frets 7 and 6. You need finger independence, right? You want to move an individual finger somewhere on the fretboard without affecting the others. Now the triangle trains that perfectly. Extra tip, once you gotta change up your fingers. So do the exact same finger exercise, but with ring, middle, and pinky instead. Here's the next exercise. I call this one here the mole, simply because I imagine the index finger coming out of the guitar every time I lift it, just like a mole comes out of the grass. And I have my ring and pinky anchored down on the G and B string, fret 5. And then I move my index finger around, so once again you train finger independence, but also some light stretching here. Sometimes we need to stretch our fingers on the guitar. Playing the mole is good exercise for that. I haven't even said my name, excuse me. My name is Florian. I've been teaching since 2007 and I still love it. My main thing is to help beginners to become creative, intermediate guitar players. Now, how is actually your finger coordination? Let's find out. This one here I call the raindrops, and it's a tricky little exercise, but don't worry, some of the next ones will be easier again. Now what it trains is finger coordination, because you have to coordinate 2 different sets of motions. You have these double stops in the bass, and you have these single melody notes, and this moving around the guitar fretboard. Finger coordination can be tricky, and it's funny that it's actually required for the open chords like G, C, E minor and so on that you learn in the very beginning. Sometimes you need to move multiple fingers at the same time. You want to synchronize their movements. Now here's a real-world example. Are you guilty of that? From C to D, what I see most of the time is this. People take their fingers very far away, especially the ring finger, and then build up the D again, and especially the ring finger usually is the last on the fretboard. But what you actually need to do is coming from C, do you see that middle and ring finger, they remain in shape. They look the same when you go to D, they're just on a different set of strings. Let me show you again. So you just move them down within their frets. You don't change what they look like. And then you bring the index finger in as well at the same time. And then moving back, you do the same. You don't build up your C from the index finger just like that. You do that. You push middle and ring finger up within the fret. They just go up to a different set of strings, and there you are with your C major. The raindrops, the one we just did, is a perfect finger exercise to train your coordination. Next up is the chase, good for your finger strength and independence. So what happens here in the chase is I do these quick hammer-ons with my index and middle finger. So it's perfect for building up strength, but also finger independence. And an extra challenge is I want to let ring the high E and B string. So I have to go around these strings to make that happen. So I flick up my index finger on the right-hand side to play the high E and B. And then I do these hammer-ons. And that I simply repeat. From having taught so many people over the years, I don't think many really need stronger fingers to play the guitar. But for some it makes sense. Think about it. Some people work on a construction site all day long. Of course they have much stronger hands and fingers than someone who sits in an office all day long. So depending on your situation, do you really need stronger fingers to play guitar? You decide. This one's called the mood swing. So what I do here is I play the low E string and then these two natural harmonics, which I'll show you in a second, and I let them ring out as much as I can, and then I'll play these pentatonic ideas. The first one is in a major pentatonic, and the second one is in a minor pentatonic, and hence the name, the mood swing, because the mood changes from major, that open bright sound, to minor, the more sad melancholic sound. So play the low E string. And then these two natural harmonics, so I put my ring finger right above the metal, right above the fret wire of the 12th fret. And I touch the strings very lightly, but I pluck them rather hard. This gives you these natural harmonics. I let them ring, and then I'll play these pentatonic hammer-ons. And when you do that, make sure that the second note, the one that you hammer on, is actually kind of like the same loudness as the one before. And then I'll repeat that pentatonic thing in minor. And that you can play nicely in a loop. This is the dance, perfect exercise for finger independence, because you have to move individual fingers rather fast, you move adjacent fingers, so it's a really cool exercise and it sounds cool. And now this melody here, the next one I play with index and middle. And I end on the middle finger, which I take to then slide down from the 7th fret A string. And then I repeat that melody, but this time I play with middle and ring finger. So I end on the ring finger now, which I take again to slide down from fret 7. And then I play with ring and pinky. If you get the dance right, you're on a good way with your finger independence. And it doesn't really matter what you plan to play on the guitar later. You need to move your fingers independently. Now the next finger exercise is about pressure control. You actually don't need much pressure to get the string down and achieve pitch, right? Now the pressure I use, if I were to do that on your arm, you would barely feel it. This is called the regret. It's a pressure control exercise. And the idea is this. The first time around you play it very softly, very gently, very quietly. Imagine you're sitting in front of a cradle and you don't want to wake up the baby. Very gently. And then the second time around, you don't sit in front of the cradle anymore, you play it loudly, but this shouldn't affect the pressure on the left-hand side, right? Because getting the string down doesn't affect the loudness. You just need to get it down, that's it. So don't change the pressure here, but change the pressure here. You want to play louder, that's the right-hand side. Pressure control is crucial. 95% of guitar beginners use too much pressure. It slows you down, you tire your fingers, and your sound suffers and so on. So while this aspect might seem the least appealing, give it some attention, it's worth it. Now the next finger exercise is dedicated to make your finger coordination better. I call this one here the plot twist because of the harmonies. They kind of like suggest a certain key and then they change and it just sounds nice. And it's that classic C at 9 chord. Everyone knows. Not everyone knows that you can move it around the fretboard. This is what we do here in this exercise. And it trains your finger coordination because you have to coordinate multiple fingers at the same time. So middle and index you keep in place and ring and pinky you move up and down. These last ones here I played staccato, so short. So I do it like that. I play the notes and then I take off the pressure, but I don't take them off of the strings. The reason why I mix these finger exercises up, by the way, is that varied practice is much more effective than mass practice. As you can read in this book, Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning, many studies prove that. So the cramming, the reading over and over again might have been effective in school to pass next day's test. But you left school a while ago, right? So forget about it. What you want here is long-term success. So don't even think you need to master finger independence first before you can move on to finger strength. Mix up your practice sessions. Don't even think you need to master Wish You Were Here before you can start Blackbird. It's the combination of all the things that you learn on the guitar that will make you better. Now let's jump into the next finger exercise. I call this one the quick one because it's a quick finger exercise. And specifically it's one for your pinky, for finger independence. Because you have to move your pinky a lot and you have to move your pinky a lot while the ring finger remains in place. So it's really good for your pinky. This one is perfect for your pinky. Don't blame it though, because we just don't use it as much in daily life. Or can you think of anything that you do with your pinky? So how can you expect it to function the same as your index finger? Just give it some love and it'll do what you want. Now next up is the bouncer, a pressure control finger exercise. Call this one the bouncer. It's a pressure control exercise, a really good one. I just bounce my finger here on one note repeatedly. And I do it like that. So I play them staccato, short. So instead of letting it ring like that, I quickly take off the pressure after I played the note off of the string, but I don't leave the string. So don't do it like that. You just lightly bounce it, just like bouncing a ball. And I do that with the index finger. First time around, and then I change up the finger to the middle finger, and the key here is that it always sound the same. Now it's the ring finger, because which finger you take shouldn't affect what it sounds like, right? And that's the pinky. If you can manage to play every single note in this exercise the same length, then you have good pressure control. It's an important aspect of guitar playing, so don't underestimate it. If you put too much pressure on the strings, it's tiring, it's slow, it messes up your intonation, it can even cause injury, so keep it light. Next up is a stretching exercise. I call this one here the beauty, and it's a finger stretching exercise. A few details. So you play the low E string, you let it ring, and on top you play that melody. And every last note you play on the high E string and let it ring, you keep it in place, because otherwise it wouldn't be a stretching exercise. And then you add the one on the B string. Keep in place. Keep in place. By the way, I tapped out all exercises nicely ready to be printed, and I'd love to give you the free tabs. Just leave the word tap in the comments and I'll send them your way. Now this next exercise is here to train your pinky. Enjoy. This one here the troublemaker, because it's about the pinky. It's a finger strength and independence exercise for the pinky specifically, and the pinky is usually the one that we're struggling with the most. So I'm here on frets 7, 6 and 5, and I roll down from the A string, and then I add that hammer on with the pinky on fret 7 B string. Then I move down 2 frets and give that hammer on a good loudness. All the way down to this chord, beautiful chord in E over A. The pinky needs a little more attention. Again, we don't use it much, so give it some love. This is your investment in your future guitar playing, because you want to reach that next level, right? So please do the exercise. Now the ring finger is not much better than the pinky. Let's help it. I call this one here the other troublemaker, because it's about the ring finger, and that's usually the second weakest of our fingers. And again, it's to build up finger strength, finger independence. That's what the exercise is for. So anchor down middle and index finger here on frets 2 and 3. I play them, then I play the high E, and then I do my hammer on with the ring finger on fret 3. 2 frets further, and then I move up a string set. So with all fingers, I go 1 string up, and then I simply repeat. You want to mix up these finger exercises for maximum results, so don't try to master one of them before moving on. It's the mix of all of them that will have a huge impact on your fingers and on your guitar playing. Next up, we have a little pentatonic exercise. I call this one here the box, referring to the pentatonic box I'm using here. And the idea is this: the first time around you play it as quiet as whispering. The second time around you play it as loud as normal speaking voice. And the third time around you play it as loud as yelling. All of that without the pressure on the left hand side being affected by that. I know a lot of guitarists play the A minor pentatonic box fairly early on their guitar journey, and actually I don't know why, because it's not the easiest to play for beginners and it's not the most useful either. So just as a side note, this here is what I like to teach first. I really like this pentatonic pattern here. 2 notes on 1 string, and 3 notes on the next, 2 notes on the next, 3 notes on the next, 2 notes on the next, 3 on the next. And that 3-2 pattern just repeats over and over again. So simple to remember and so simple to use. This here I call the funeral. It's a finger stretching exercise. I call it the funeral because it's in minor and it sounds quite sad. And the idea is this: everything played on the 5th fret is played by the index finger. Everything on the 6th and 7th is the middle finger. Everything on the 8th is the ring finger, and the pinky's out. What's the point in playing guitar when you cannot move your fingers where you want them to be and in time? By doing all these finger exercises, you don't need to bother about that question any longer. Get the free tabs by leaving the word tap in the comments. Mix these finger exercises up for maximum results. I am Florian. Enjoy.